Hey, and welcome to Happy Hour at the Old Timer Tavern. I am one of your two hosts, Lantern Noir, who is here every Tuesday at 5 p.m. because work is over. We've made the commutes home, or in my case, the shuffle back into the basement office. And with me is my amazing co-host.
Graybeard of Graybeard's Tavern, coming to you live from the tavern.
A great place to be. Speaking of great places, I have awesome news. We have been invited to join the Inverse Genius collection of podcasts and video content.
Nice.
Inverse
Look at
Genius
that.
is a group organized around by an amazing gentleman named Donald Dennis, or Walsfio, all over the internets. And it's just a collection of gamers that are role-play gamers, board gamers, tabletop gamers, and in the case of one particular Bruce Vogue, game show gamers. So
Nice.
it is just a neat thing. I got the message today saying, hey, you make good content. You should be part of the network. Do you want to be? And I was like, do we get a secret handshake? And officially we don't.
Aw.
There's no no secret handshake because Donald is afraid he can't actually do it.
Oh, I was gonna say because I just signed up for TikTok today, so I'll do the TikTok of the secret handshake.
Okay, here's my thing about TikTok. I remember when Vine was the big thing. Now let me pitch you on Vine. It's a website where you post short 3 to 10-second videos of yourself, sometimes on a loop for comedic effect. So yeah, I have not. I've resisted the TikToks. I don't know if my content overlaps well with TikTok yet.
I mine it yeah I don't know if I'm gonna be much of a content creator there. Um, if I do, it'll be way different than what I do otherwise. Anyway, but it's all LB and the Hype Goblin. They do such amazing TikTok stuff that I finally am like, okay, I will, acquiesce and come on over and splash in the pool because it's awesome.
Okay, now to be fair, Hype Goblin, I've caught because she reposts her stuff onto Twitter,
Right.
and absolutely she makes amazing content
Yep.
over there. She's an incredibly talented person, an amazing cosplayer. We
Yeah.
can't say enough fun things about them. Speaking of cosplay, that got me thinking about Dungeons and Dragons, but I want you to have the first crack at how your week has been in gaming.
Okay. Pretty good week. Saturday night, Thursday night masks. Always an amazing time. We are over the hill now. We're in the downward slope of the story. It's supposed to be like a 10 episode arc, and we've reached the tipping point, and it's really starting to roll at this point where it's we all know each other's secret identities, so all the like origin stuff is really coming to fruition, and how did you get your powers and why is this, and what's the giant clockwork red lightning, and why was there a gravity well at basically a like a K-pop concert. There was a gravity well, and one character was creating a dome of earth to keep people from flying off into the gravity well and becoming spaghetti, and that chaos. Friday, I got my second COVID shot. So yeah, so that was good, and I don't game on Fridays generally. That I watch Winter Soldier or Mandalorian or whatever with the fam. Saturday night I felt like garbage, so we didn't really play. We yammered for grognards, and I yammered for a few minutes, and then I was going to go to bed, and before I could lay down I got called into work
Oh
and was at
no.
work until midnight, sick as a dog,
Oh.
like flu achy and everything. So anyway, that was rough. But then by Sunday morning, I was I felt like a man of steel. I have joined the immortals. And so I did my Sunday morning show. We had a good time with that. Uh, and then, of course, the oldest elf and I did our campaign in the afternoon. We had a hilarious thing. There's a module out there, and it's akin to Barber of Seville with Sweeney Todd thrown in, but it's a cutesy version of it. It's hard to explain, but it's free. It's out there on DM's Guild. Oh, I was going to say there was a question there. It's kind of Sweetie Todd, Barber of Seville, but it was done in a very cutesy way. And we were playing that, and we were laughing our butts off because she thunder waves some Zvarts, if anybody who knows what a Zvart is, into like blue Smurfy pastes on the wall, and she giggled her little butt off. And I know you shouldn't giggle at murder, but we try to keep it cute.
It's called comedic violence is the official term in cartoon parlance.
And then I had good I don't know what you would call it, an interaction at work. Someone who I've talked to a lot about board games and stuff and computer games, he just outright said, "Caught your show Sunday morning." And I was like, "Oh, you did?" So yeah, it was really validating to have someone at work, just be like out of the blue, someone I've never told about my show or anything, just had found it on Sunday mornings, and so that was nice. That was a good one. But yeah, I mean, he knew that I streamed role-playing stuff, and so he knew my online name and everything. So
okay.
Obviously he must have seen something pop up or something. I don't know. But anyway, it was very validating, very nice to have someone, just out of the blue say, "I caught your show." I was like, "Oh, woo!" So that's my week in gaming.
Awesome. Those moments are like clutch to keep you going at this. My cousin, who's in advertising, paid me a huge compliment with you just have a really neat layout. It's easy to follow everything. And I'm like, your career is built around this kind of thing. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we had Sunday night. We were down one player who's going to be gone for 2 sessions. So we actually gave one player the night off, brought in two fresh faces, whom I haven't played with. One I'd never played with, and one I haven't played with in forever. So Jeff and I go way, way back. Liz is a new friend of mine to gaming. She's actually a dance instructor. And we did I did some reskinning on something from Ghosts of Saltmarsh. Oh. And I was like, okay, I can play with this. And it's really exciting for me too, because the Raven Armed, who's another streamer who's got a pretty, he's a great guy. He has a great stream. He has a lot of fun. I've been trying to get into the D&D table. And I'm like, this is perfect because this adventure will be great for him too. So I get to test run it. Right. And we're going to finish that next week with the standard, 2 people can't be here, so we're going to randomly add 2 people they've rescued to continue the adventure. Shtick. Dun, dun, dun. And then we're taking a week off, and then we're going to start Curse of Strahd. So we're taking Mother's Day off for that group. And then my Wednesday night game is just ripping through stuff. I mean, they're just having a blast and a half. They're playing, they put everything on the table, and it's a great group to play with. And I'm so geeked. I hope we can keep that going a little bit longer. So, because they're a lot of fun. And then I think I might get roped into a third game of the week, but I'm not sure what it is yet.
Oh,
I don't know.
Wow.
I have to kind of, I've dialed back my just game streams, but it leaves me that only puts me on the air 3 times a week. I want to get some more. I want some more screen time. I want some more excuses to stream, but I don't know what I want to do with it. So I'm currently floating maybe starting up another, I'm going to run it. It's going to be out of the book, but it'll still have my spin on it. And I just don't know what I want it to be yet. And then I can start kind of recruiting from there once I get a feel for it. So
yeah, I had forgotten. I played with my UK crew on Sunday, and because we were at a point in this Zweihander game that we're playing that we couldn't proceed without a player, so we had to rip together a one shot, and so we played the Alien role play game,
Hmm.
and we've played it one other time as a one shot, and both times that with that crew we've had just an amazing time, and it was really great because everyone was doing so it was British folks doing Russian and Spanish accents. And then I was trying to decide on an accent, and my character was born in space, and so I just said he does all the accents, and so I just kept switching the accent all the time, or having none, being the the Midwesterner of space kind of thing. It was funny, and it was all just sort of trying to find a voice for the character because I didn't know we were playing it until like we were playing it. So anyway,
I know that feeling.
mm-hmm.
That's been me a couple of times with the, I think we can pull a game off tonight, but we need people. And then it's like, what are we playing? I don't know. But we're doing something. And that's so stressful with the prep work I try to put in. Just because I want to be sure everything looks good, and I want to think about what the programming and the graphic design and the layout. It's so stressful when things don't line up.
And I generally am a method player when I build characters and make a character. So there, I will spend, weeks before a show begins, driving home, doing different voices. I'm Batman. No, I'm Batman. No, just trying to get the voice down to something that I can, one, do, and two, that I can do for as long as I need to. Because I had a character, one of my first long-term streaming commitments, I was Gronk Goreblast, and so I had to do that World Wrestling Federation voice for like
all the
three
time.
yeah, for like 3 hours. So Kronk was one of those, silent but deadly guys. He didn't talk much, and when he did, he tried to be a rock of wisdom. An 800-pound rock of wisdom.
That sounds like our monk in our game. They don't talk much, but when they do, it's usually pointed. But that's also where we had the wonderful moment where Linarius, bless their soul, looked at their sheet and went, "Oh wait, I can teleport. I'm going to teleport into the room." And I went, "But there's a wall in the way." And their answer was, "Well, I can see where I'm teleporting. It's right there on the map." You make a compelling point. But so speaking of method character creation, your idea was this week we should talk about how we make characters.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and we're going to pull up D&D Beyond here. Okay. Let's see if OBS settles down from that. It kind of just hiccuped at me and said, "I don't like you." And I think it's happy again now.
Good.
So we have our character sheets up here, and I'm still in that first home screen. Okay. Do you start with a name?
No. Generally not. I usually have to. I gotta, like I said, I'm kind of a method player, so I generally, a name almost always comes last, unless it's something that happens. Like I was in a charity thing a couple weeks ago over on Saucefire's channel, and once I knew I was going to be a rogue-ificer, rogue artificer, I decided that he was a goblin who got hit on the head while disarming a trap, and his name was something like Puddle Slorp or something like that originally, but then he got hit in the head with a falling stone trap, and then when he woke up, the world seemed very different, and he never knew why he drank out of puddles, and why didn't he build a a distillery to clean the puddle water, to then add a little lime to it and maybe some antioxidants and, all this. So he got smart after he got hit in the head, basically. And so he changed his name to Quizbane Cracked Noggin. And that's, but it was literally, I was almost done with the character when that sort of like, that light bulb clicked. So
Okay.
yes, I can't start with a name. Do you?
Not very often. On occasion, I've said I want to play a character, but I'll always have like an archetype in my brain, and then I'll have named them, and then I'll start like taking the archetype I've already fleshed out and like put it in there. But like the name is not, for me, it's not usually a starting point. It's more of a midpoint. When they
Yeah.
start to take on some life, maybe a name starts to come to me, and then I'll go put that down, and then I'll build around the name.
Right.
Depending. But as important as names are, it is something that I also tend to be a wait and see as to what kind of gels. Well, we had talked a little bit about what kind of character we were going to try to make, and some of the things that got pitched at me I thought were really clever, making something for a science fiction in a D&D world game, doing super high fantasy, doing really low fantasy, doing an all dwarf party, which can be really fun. I thought that since this is our first time sitting down together to do a character creation stream / show, we should do a generic. Our friend has announced that they want to run D&D. They would like us to play because we kind of know what we're doing, and we should make a character to go with their game. So a nice middle of the road. We don't want to break anything.
Right.
We want to I'm thinking, I want to build a character I can bring to the table, and when I talk about how I made my character, everyone else can kind of go, oh, I think I get how to make a character.
Right.
Kind of character.
Okay. Good. All right. So standard, as far as we know, it's a standard Faerun D&D first level. Are we doing first or third level?
Let's start with first. Let's get through the firsts.
Okay.
So what do you do next? You do race or class?
So usually I try to think about like so I reach inside and I go, what am I feeling? Because I have a tendency to either I choose last, like I let everybody else play, because I'm 44 years of this, and so I usually am like, you guys play whatever, because I have a list of all the classes and all the races and the subclasses that I have played in 5th edition, and I'm working my way through, and it was amazing when Tasha's Cauldron came out. I'm like, whew, okay, that's a whole 22 more that I gotta make and try to play. And I've been fortunate to guest star in Indoor Adventures game over there where they're doing Rime of the Frost Maiden, and I've been able to play a Phantom Rogue from Tasha's. So yeah, I usually reach in and I kind of feel like I usually play people who are either, swall or small. They're either like some kind of giant out of control, whatever, or gentle giant, big brother bear, or big hero 6, that type character, or I play a small character who is just gonzo, hence Quizbane Crack Noggin. So once I know what everybody else is playing, then I generally choose a class, and then once I've got the class, I either go, okay, am I tipping the scale with something big and being a magic user or whatever, or the other way, so I will say to you, what are you playing in this party?
Oh, and this is the problem with being another elder gamer, is my gut reaction whenever someone says, what are you playing? I'm like, well, I don't know. What's everybody else got going on? I got a lot of stories I can tell. I just need some guidance as to what the party is going to need. I tend to fall in a very similar case. I've played so many characters, and it's not, you can pretty much hand me a race class combo, and I'm like, oh yeah, I can play with that. So I'm thinking I usually do tend to start with the race, partially because it's what's offered first on D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond pops in here and says, "Hi, pick a race." Oh, hey Toe, welcome aboard.
Woohoo!
We are just diving in on the beginning of character creation for a tip session on character creation. A little bit of the method of our madness in a generic, just we're making up a character for a friend's campaign that's new to DMing. Which also means, I didn't realize when I pitched that as our topic, it also means we're probably going to be trying not to break anything.
Right.
We're going to avoid the obvious broken mechanic combos.
Right.
Because we don't want to monster race break the game. No, see, that's the thing. The scenario is actually limiting us a little bit because we again, our friend's first game. We don't want to break it. That's for everyone else to figure out.
But what is it? Oh my goodness, my dyslexic brain.
Togi pie?
Togi pie, maybe. So it's very monster race, and I'm all like thumbs up.
Well, it's interesting though too. If you look, I've got the race list in front of me. They already kind of let you do that. Asimars are on. The Seamars are on here. Goliaths, which are like basically giants. The Dragonborn, the Arakokra, half orcs, and tieflings. I mean, you've got a lot of, and the Ganassi. You've got a lot of races that are very, very close to monster races. That you even if you wanted to play a monster race, I could say, well, make them using the gnome stats, and then we'll just call it a kobold.
Well, and then depending on what books you have, I mean, I've got Volo's Guide, and Volo's Guide has the monster races in it. So, like, I have played. Oh my goodness, I have played a goblin, obviously. I played a bugbear, Helm Crusher, and I've played a kobold, Farouche the wizard. So yeah, so it's I do indeed love the monster races, but yeah, so I guess let's open it up. Did you say that
we could do whatever we want? Welcome aboard the third tier. It's good to have you as we make some characters. I think I think in terms of race class combos. So I'm thinking I probably want to do something a little outside my box.
Okay.
Because I tend to do a lot of halflings, a lot of dwarves, and a lot of traditional human somethings.
Right.
So I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make a tiefling for the first time in a while.
All right.
And I'm going to be making a. You're welcome to offer advice, by the way, third tier. We're just kind of going through a generic process of how we make a character. Now, if you'll notice between the screens, this is the upside downside to D&D Beyond. Greybeard has a lot more content enabled than I do.
Yeah,
So you see a lot more choices on his screen than you see over here on mine, because I don't own that many books yet. And thank you for joining the family, Toe. We're good to have you along with all the various opportunities we have to get together. So I'm just going to take a generic tiefling. And what I really dig with D&D Beyond, and not to plug it because they're not paying me to, is are you sure this is what you want? Here's a bunch of stuff about them.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing that's really nice about D&D Beyond is so if, for say, our new friend who's going to DM for the first time, I could actually create the campaign. They could actually DM the campaign. I could set them up to be the DM, and then everybody would have all my content for it, because I own the campaign and I'm sharing my content. Yep. So like the oldest house elf, she's playing D&D Beyond at school and as part of the Dungeons and Dragons Club, and she has all my content, which is a little more than what they have at school. So she's got to watch it a little bit.
A little bit. Be an engineer, huh? I think we can probably work that in here somewhere. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna choose my tiefling, and that'll kick me over here now to. I can head over to class. What are you going with?
I'm looking at something that again is in the base books and won't break their game, and at the same time something that I'm trying to think of one that I have not played that's in the base book, and every one I look at I'm like, oh yeah, that character. I think Genasi's not in the base book, but is it? Do you think it's normal enough to not throw off a new DM? All right.
I gotta check in here really quick.
Sure. All right. Will be. I have never played an elf in fifth edition.
Serious?
I'm serious. I've never played an elf, so I'll do that. That way, it's total right straight from the book.
That is, and a little different. The Goblin Mage of Terrible Power, whose powers suck, or Dave, the average human. You know, that's another interesting angle on this that we'll talk about in just a second. Because there's some fun stuff that goes with that when we start to kind of plan this out and what we're going with. I don't have Access Artificer for a class on my system because I don't have that book yet.
If you want to see that, I can do that.
Nope. You can do it, but that's up to you. Artificer, I don't know how broken it is. Is it an advanced class?
It's something I wouldn't subject a new DM to. So I'll be, you said Tiefling.
I did a Tiefling. I haven't picked a class yet, though.
Oh, okay. Then I will pick High Elf, because I have never played one.
Cool. Now you pick the class.
Oh, okay. Then I pick the class. I am going to be a High Elf. Let me check class and see if there's something I haven't played. Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Road, Sorcerer, Warlock. Well, okay, yeah, I've played them all.
High level druids are broken. I can see that. Sorcerer is the Warlock is the go-to for Tieflings, which is why I kind of don't want to do that.
Yeah. I think I will also not go to the norms, and I will be a High Elf Paladin.
Oh. That's a fun one.
Yeah. So.
Oh, okay. And I'm doing a Tiefling Wizard. Because she is not. Well, here's what I've heard. Wizards unlock all of their magic through careful study. Warlocks get it by sleeping with the professor.
Yep. Exactly.
And I'm digging that vibe for this character right out of the gate. It's like, no. She is a no nonsense. I get the job done. I did my work. I'm not selling my soul for my power. I am earning my power. And if you think I sold my soul for it, that's racist.
It's not a relative. I did not get my power from an uncle or something.
Those are sorcerers.
Yeah, well, yeah, or like I said, you made a pact with a fiend because you have fiend ancestry or whatever.
Right.
I played in a game with a tiefling whose grandpa was Asmodeus. That was Indoor's character. So
here's a fun question. I'm going down my proficiencies as a wizard. Do wizards ever not take Arcana as a proficiency?
I cannot. Your party would be mad at you.
Yeah.
Your party would be mad at you if you were the wizard. If you're a sorcerer or a warlock, you can kind of hedge that bet.
Yeah.
It would be like if the bard didn't take history If you're not trying to throw your friend for a total loop, I would dodge that, and I would take Arcana because
Divination wizards.
ooh, good choice.
They might not take Arcana. And in theory though, I could. Here's from a roleplay point of view. I could not take Arcana and say, well, yeah, I mean, she studied Arcana. Doesn't mean she's proficient with it.
Right.
I mean, she can cast spells. That's the extent of it. It's like I use the analogy of wizard magic is like writing code, and spells are like running programs you know well. So she gets the programs that work. She understands why they work. Writing her own from scratch, no, that's not my. I work with pre-done apps. I find what I need on GitHub.
Yes.
That's kind of what I do.
Snatches of code. And that's always what I like to say too, is that, wizards manipulate and change the weave of things. They weave together spells. Sorcerers command it, and and warlocks, it's borrowed.
We ask nicely.
Yes, exactly.
Kind of like clerics.
Yes, yeah, kind of like all the divine spellcasters.
Okay, so what's your paladin's proficiencies?
I'm gonna go with all armor, shields, wisdom and charisma. Choose. I will go with a high elf who is. Oh, I gotta go with intimidation because he's a snooty high elf paladin, and religion. He is a true believer.
That's actually, you should be careful too. High knowledge of religion also implies that they've studied all the other options.
You're correct.
And they've decided what to settle on, and that's the sign. That is the sign of a faithful. Like they know, well, I could have followed this god or that god or this god or no god or these gods, and it's like, but this is the one I'm cool with. That's an important trait in religious circles.
Yeah, I like that. That way you've got instead of I was chosen by God to do this or do that. That's interesting that they maybe were an acolyte for 150 years of just going one to the other. Paladin of what? Well, we'll figure that out as we go along.
Say?
Yeah. Exactly.
Speaking of which, this article just came up on because I've got my spell list in front of me. This article, I'm going to post it in chat. This is a list of like the best. Oh, nope, that's not what I wanted to post. Ignore that. Where did it go? There it is. This was not on D&D, the official website, but it was posted on another article I got as a Facebook recommendation.
Yeah.
And it is the most useful cantrips. 5 essential cantrips every party needs. And one of the ones they put on the list, and this is why I just added it to my character sheet, is prestidigitation. Because it's super, super usable. And the other one you grab is something like mending.
Right.
I think is that or is it one of them has the cleaning effect.
Prestidigitation.
Yes.
It does.
Because here's the best part. Your party can slaughter a bunch of people in the middle of town and then a couple of prestidigitation cantrips and all of your weapons are clean and blood free.
Yes. And it's so good when you're in a campaign and someone has it, because it becomes a thing where you're just like, hey warlock, come on, guts and blood, fix me up. Or we go through the sewers and we get out of the sewers and we're all like, oh my god, oh yeah, we're ripe, fix it, would you? I had a DM where we came out of the sewers type thing, and my sorcerer went to talk to lady blah blah blah, and he went stomping up and his guards are like, whoa, all right, stinky beggar, get away with you, back. And so he walked around the side of the building, prestidigitated disguised self to put on good clothes, and then came back around the side and was like, I am here to see the lady. So
There's a lot of those fun little things you can pop that get just where you want to get and do so many nice things. Is it guidance? Or is that's a priest one that gives you like a bonus of like D4 to all skill checks.
Oh, guidance. Yes.
Guidance, yeah.
So, and then there's resistance or resilience. I can't remember what it's called. That's the one that gives it to the saving throws.
Nice. I'm going to go with, so my cantrips are going to be Prestidigitation, Friends. This is a nice one to kind of get in there. And then obviously a wizard needs their attack cantrip. Bless is also good for that. It affects up to 4 other targets, I believe. But it's also concentration based. So there's that mind. It has a little bit of a balancing effect.
Yeah.
I'm thinking my Shape Water is also an incredibly nice cantrip when you start to get into the fun things you can do with it, with freezing water and stuff.
The earth one, mold earth or whatever. That one's really good. I think that was the one that my druid had, because we knew we were going to a place where we were going to be building a new fortress on an island, and an unexplored island, and so he used that to build trenches so they could put in a palisade and stuff.
Well, I hope it goes well for your third, and good luck. Remember, it's your honor whenever you talk to the bench, by which I mean the judge, not the bench next to you. As was a shtick in more than one episode of Night Court.
And yes, they will definitely take you away in a nice padded coat if you talk to the bench. Okay.
So I've got my 3 cantrips. How are you doing? You're got an extra language still.
Right. Well, yeah, because I had to jump back to my race, because Paladin at first level doesn't have a lot of choices. There's no spells or whatever. But because I'm a high elf, I get a cantrip. And because I'm a high elf, I speak an extra language. Now, what I'm trying to do is decide on the extra language to go with my possible deity. So, I don't know what deity I want to be. Well, for now, I'll take Sylvan for now, and then when I choose deity, we'll switch that up. And then a cantrip. Oh my goodness, there's so many cantrips.
They're all good too. Let's see.
Yeah, and your spell choices say so much about your wizard too. Like, we were playing the one with the giants. Oh my goodness, it's been too long. The first module they put out. Anyway, we were playing that, and the bridge was down, the drawbridge was down, and the chain was broken. And I literally said, "No one has mending. No one." We because literally, if we had mending, we could have put the drawbridge chain back together, mended it, and pulled the drawbridge up. But instead, we had to stand there slogging it out, on a tipped over wagon, trying to hold off an orc horde.
Yep, that's how that works. Let's see. There are so many, and like I said, it's not just what you prepare at first level. It's also like, what do you just put in the spell book so you know what you can prepare from.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too with D&D Beyond. You have to watch, because I forget what the actual rule is. When you're a first level character, I think you get
4
2 or 4 spells, or it might even be it might be based on your intelligence modifier. I can't remember. I've been using D&D Beyond so long I can't remember.
Well, I'll check the class features real quick. Spellcasting. Spellbook. 6 first level wizard spells of your choice. So, right there. So you get your 3 cantrips and 6 first level spells, but you can only prepare 1 at a time. So there's a certain judiciousness with like what you pick to put in those slots that you got to watch out for.
Yeah.
And you only can prepare 1 at first level.
Yeah.
And so that's another twist, is like you don't want to get too deep into like all your possibilities, because you're only going to pick 1 to include. Hey, Ear, glad to have you here. We're early in character creation. We're kind of picking out our race class combos and doing a couple of special abilities, picking cantrips and first level spells. Catapult. Okay, that one's going in the spell book.
One of my favorite spells.
Yep. I actually, in my Sunday game, the town enchanter's apprentice was challenged to create a magical trap for the door. So she used a pile of horse manure and a preset catapult spell.
Right.
So when the door was opened, this giant ball of horse poop went shooting through the doorway. And then the running gag was the guy who got hit with it was like, everyone who reacted to him was like, oh man, that horse, like, someone has to track that horse down because there's not something right with it.
And there's something very wrong with that poor horse.
That horse needs help. So I can make tools for D&D. One of the tools was character creation. Do you see any limitations on the solutions you can get now? Wow, that is a huge question about D&D Beyond that we're going to pin to come back to when we're done with this and talk about what we would like to see them offer. I'm not going to lie. Character creation through the D&D Beyond website, even for a free user, is really hard to compete with. Like, it's almost like saying, I'm going to come up with a search engine that's more efficient than Google. I mean, I don't doubt it can be done. I'm just letting you know that that's a tough one. Now, there are some other areas that could use some beef, but this is a pretty robust website. I'm just going to put that out there. And I even as a free user, it's pretty good. I guess I'm going to learn Unseen Servant. Probably never use it, but... And then we'll learn... And then you learn Identify.
Okay.
Quit horsing around and find that poor animal. Yuck, 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 yuck.
Yeah. All right. See, because I chose Paladin, there's like 3 or 4 spells that are very, you can use as part of an attack, and so those are really choice to use.
Absolutely. Oh. Yeah, the youngest house elf has gone over to play at a friend's for the first time in a year.
Oh,
and
nice.
She took a mask, and she knows everyone in the house is well into 2 shots now, so she feels a little more comfortable doing that, and we feel a little comfortable with her doing that.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. But so while you're picking that, my spell selections were. Here, mine at the very top, my spell book. So for my cantrips, I ended up with Friends. Nice, good all-around utility.
Yeah.
Hey, let's not screw with each other. And Prestidigitation for all those neat little applications. And Ray of Frost is her attack spell. And then the first level spells I took were Catapult, Charm Person, Identify, because you want to have it in the party. I don't know why I took Unseen Servant other than maybe it'll be useful later.
Right.
And then the combat spells are Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Magic Missile, and Witch Bolt.
Ooh. So, Witch Bolt. love that spell. It's always one that's so hard to get to work. It's one of those that's beautiful when it's happening, and if you can get someone to work with you, like, aha, me and the bad guy are fighting, duking it out here, and you can just stand in back and be like, meh, 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 every round. Oh, it's such a gorgeous spell.
Yeah, congratulations on that third. We've got a lot of people that are still kind of figuring out when they're going to go get their shots and gain into the queue and taking advantage of those opportunities. It's great when people have a chance to do that. And I'm excited for giving her the opportunity. We're actually going to a small potluck with a couple of friends this week. It's weird. Not going to lie. Not going to lie. It's a little weird to think about going out and meeting up with people.
Yeah, I have maybe a half dozen times went and seen people in a year.
Yep.
So yeah, very strange. I chose lightning lure. And I'm not gonna I'm gonna say it was a hard choice because, again, there's like 3 or 4 spells that are comboed with attacks. So I may retcon it at some point, but for now, I just like and I'm going to say that it's partially because the Mortal Kombat movie came out, but I like the idea of whipping out this paladin, this elven paladin, whipping out this lightning lasso and being like, get over here, kind of thing.
Yep.
So,
it's not just Mortal Kombat. That's a great staple of any fantasy where they can do that. You're not getting away from me. The Boba Fett grappling hook thing. Welcome, Keyturn. Glad to have you hanging out with us today too. So we're on to abilities.
Yes, abilities.
Which I'm a huge fan of either standard array or point buy.
I am so going to be on the same ship with you with that. I just, for decades, we were 46, pick the best 3, or drop the lowest and roll 6 or 7 numbers and pick the best 6. And it just is, you can have such disparity between players then. And it just makes, if you get that one, the one kid who's like, chugga, 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 18, chugga, 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 18. And, another one who's like, Yahtzee, ones.
Well, the other thing I found very uncomfortable with as a DM is when I was running the group of the kids at the youth center, was one kid showed up and he didn't have a single stat below 16.
Right.
And he said, well, yeah, I really rolled these. You can ask my dad. He was there because he couldn't believe it because he plays Dungeons and Dragons too, and he couldn't believe how well I was rolling. And my next thought was like, but that's really like inviting me to have an awkward conversation about honesty.
Right.
Because I feel like the minute you say, you can ask my dad, this is real, that's a dare. Right. And there's no winner in that moment.
No.
Like if I call and it turns out the kid didn't have it confirmed, he looks like a total jerk and I look like a jerk for not trusting him. And if I call and it was legit, I still look like a jerk.
Yeah.
And even playing it like at the table, it's still just like you said, there's that disparity issue. We had a conversation in Discord I thought was really good, which is the power of groups that are really small and where you do things like have everyone roll a pool of numbers. So everyone does 46, drop the lowest, write it down. Everyone contributes 6 numbers and then everyone pulls numbers out of the pot.
A draft.
So it becomes, but a negotiated draft. Like, okay, tell you what, someone's got to take the 7. I will put 7 in wisdom. Right. And you all are just going to have to be my better judgments because this wizard is just, she just makes horrible life choices.
Yes.
Like that's who she is. I'll own it for the team, but y'all gotta have my back, and I want that 18 for my int.
Yes.
That's the deal.
Right.
But yeah, it does become very, very democratic. So if you have a group that's going to be playing together for a long time, I can see that as an interesting twist.
Yeah. The one that has happened over on Indoor Adventures channel is they have a dice roller. And so basically you go in and you roll your numbers, and it's there for everybody to see. And it's so funny because phone stuff will start popping up on your phone, and you'll be like, our justice rolled blah, so, a 17. There must be a new campaign. Our justice rolled a 12. Oh, come on, RJ, come on. Kick some butt. But yes, I am a huge fan of array or point buy. It just, you don't end up with anything weird. We rolled at the table for my home campaign, and both house elves, one was like 10 at the time and one was 12. They both just rolled off the charts. We were all sitting there. We were helping them make their characters, and it was like 18, 16, and then the grognards are like 10, 11. And so the two kids characters are just, they started off with 20s in their primary stats. I'm the bard with +5 out of the gate at level 1.
Yike.
So
Standard array is neat. You get to place an 8, 10. These, and they're not going to come through because I don't think either one grab. Well, yours might grab the actual array. Mine does not because of the way OBS works. I'm not getting the drop down list. But you start with an 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. And you can place them wherever you want, which is you end up with a very similar character to point buy if you kind of know a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you can also pick and choose. Go ahead.
The only thing about a point buy is you can really, I've got 2 numbers that are 7s. so you can start with 2 15s or 2 16s, if you really want to tweak it.
I'm going to put that 8 that I have to assign. I'm going to put that in my wisdom.
Yeah, I see. And that puts me at a weird thing because I got to figure out, because a paladin, you need almost everything. So I'm gonna go with an 8 intelligence.
So used to players paying attention to party composition, but character creation is very independent. It is, and I'm a big believer of any group of 4 adventurers can be successful in a game. Like there is a pathway to success in any scenario for 4 people going into it, regardless of what their I would think it'd be a lot of fun sometime to run a campaign that's 4 monks.
Right. So I've never done the 4 monks thing, which would be amazing, but I have done the 4 spellcasters before. And yeah, it's great, particularly if your party gets together and they try to sync that up where they're like, yes, I'm the evoker, and you're the necromancer, and you're the abjurer. I was trying to say a crossbowlist, arbalist. So I'm defense, you're offense, and you're eventually going to make us zombies to fight for us. DPS overload. That's right.
Yeah, it is. Do you care about party composition depending on the story? When I do my elevator pitch about a game I'm going to run, I usually try to give them a sense of what the main story arc is going to look like. But even like the one I'm running as my 2 episode one shot, it could have been four pirate fighters, and it could have been four wizards, and it still would have been fun.
Yeah.
Necromancy is just late healing. Word.
Ultimate recyclists. Reuse, recycle.
Now, it's kind of, here's a fun twist. I just pulled up the next page after the ability scores, and immediately it says, "What's your name?" Like, that's the first thing at the top of the list. It's almost like the system knows you've come this far. You should have an. I know, is that on the top of every page? It's not. Description is now where it says, "Would you like to give your character a name?" And I dig the backgrounds as a mechanic now. That's they introduced that in 3 as an option, if I remember right. And they kind of floated around. I want to say they floated around even earlier than that. I think 2nd edition.
So backgrounds. So in two they introduced proficiencies, but proficiencies were like almost like a skill set. It would be like cooking, fishing, farming. You know, it would be a whole skill set like a background, and that showed up in 2. And then in the power, what were they called, points and powers or something, there was it was the bridge between 2 and 3/3.5 where they started to bring in the backgrounds as a choice and option, but it never really took in 3 and 3.5 because people were so enamored with skills, you know.
Got it.
And
Yeah, but I dig what they've done with this because it adds, you get 1 or 2 more proficiencies, which doesn't really break the game,
right.
but you get a little bit extra to kind of help flesh out your view of this character. And then and a little bit of like a hint of where you might go with your background. I'm tempted to put knight.
Yeah, there you go. I really enjoy the knight option, particularly because you get the 2 retainers, and I like
That's right.
I like the idea of having those retainers play, but it has to be the right kind of campaign. I love having retainers and stuff. In 2nd edition, the Cavalier just had retainers, and as you became higher level, you just got more, and you had, you know, squires and groomsmen and valets, and it just it was so fun.
You want to be careful though with D&D Beyond that if you end up with a free proficiency you already bought, you might want to go back and repick it.
Yes,
I think I took Insight. I just clicked on City Watch, and you get a free proficiency in Insight from that.
Yeah, go back and see if it actually picked that up. If D&D Beyond itself.
Oh no, it was Investigation I took, and now under Insight it says, by the way, you already have that as part of City Watch, and now it's going to take it away from my background and say, hey, choose a new background skill because you already took that one.
Yeah,
that's handy. All right. That's pretty smart. It's not letting me ruin my opportunities.
So far, I have not been able to trip up D&D Beyond very often, so I've been pretty happy with it. One thing that I'm going to say that we are reaching at this point with D&D Beyond, having been out, is it 5 years now? That sounds about right. Maybe 6 years even. We are kind of reaching that character bloat info. So like I've got so many books at this point in D&D Beyond that, you know, the list, if you look at the list here, it's, you know, 1, 2, almost 3 scrolls down worth of choices
Oh, for backgrounds?
for backgrounds. So and like I said, that becomes a thing for subclasses and stuff too. With 22 new ones coming in or just out in Tasha's. But
Yeah. And again, what you pick sometimes it gives you extra choices, sometimes it makes it tougher. What's good and bad with some of these backgrounds I find is I like a lot of my characters to be young. I like characters that don't have a lot of background, and a lot of these come with story attached.
yes.
So like the military veteran, that is not a young character. They might be a young adventurer,
Yeah.
but they've decided to go on adventuring quests. And you kind of want to like use as a guide as to like, how old is this person in the story? Because I'm picturing someone who's fresh out of the academy.
Right.
So she's not going to have a lot of background in any given area. So whatever her background is, it's going to have to be one of those. She did it for a little while before she went into school, or it's how she paid for school, or it's something like along those lines that she did for a bit. So I'm going to stick with Smuggler, which is not the most exciting.
Right.
Get a couple extra skill proficiencies, though, plus down low. She knows all of the parts of town are. Now, I don't usually do the characteristics.
It all depends. So, I am going to, I think, take the knight.
Cool.
Background, and just because then you have down low and I have up high.
Nice.
And I, like I said, I'm playing a very snooty, very paladin-y, not very bright, but very convicted paladin, so
that works.
Of course you play dragon chess, and I do like the fact that any racial languages and whatnot you get automatically do not appear on the lists of languages when you go to choose one.
Yep. Yeah, Urchin is good, but you want to be careful because Urchin also has other built-in benefits. Thank you. Which let you, which can break games. if you're playing a really fun urban game, having an Urchin in the party means that a lot of encounters can get skipped because the party knows the way around them.
The other one like that a lot of people, Outlander, is one that people point to all the time. Of oh, you can just get food and you never get lost if you've already been that way. Oh, how great. So the characteristic stuff, it's I enjoyed it when we began playing 5th, and I like it because it helps define your character, but it really needs to have some more game mechanic function. It just gets forgotten. Like I said, a lot of times when I sit down to do D&D is I'll be like, you guys are in charge of handing out inspiration because I'm going to miss stuff, or I'm going to take your background information in the first episode and I may not come back to any of your bonds, ideals, flaws, or I might not come back to that for 4 or 5 sessions before I weave one of those into the story. So it really needs more of a punch. It needs to be one of those where if you take this bond, you get X. If it becomes a game mechanic, you better believe players are gonna pay attention to it.
Yeah, and there's a few that I've noticed that I've missed because I just haven't worked them in. Keen Mind can be tricky. Yep. Last character in WoW was a Ret Pala. Paladins make for some fun characters. I said I wasn't going to pay too much attention to the biffs, and I looked in here and was like, oh, but on the other hand, some of these actually do fit the character I'm picking about. Like I struggle to trust the words of others. Yeah, I kind of think that fits her.
Mhm.
But I'm not big on you have to pick one or roll. Um, Now alignment is a whole show onto its own.
Right.
So I'm gonna pick for mine. I'm just gonna put neutral good,
Okay.
which is a nice, safe, like a generally good person that kind of keeps to their word, but tends to be like I'm looking out for. Well, like I also took the whole like the smugglers have a code, so that leans lawful, but I don't. Lawful good is like I'm gonna put lawful neutral then because on principle I don't like sitting down at a table to say lawful good because
Mhm.
everyone assumes lawful stupid.
Hey, or lawful stick up the butt.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, this character has a code that she follows,
mhm.
and she tends to stick to that tradition. Like these are the rules. You know, we agreed on this, and we agreed on that. So here's what we got to do. However, she still thinks people are like the good of the many is still a good ideal to go after. She's not the resolute lawyer.
Got it. I also took lawful neutral
Oh,
because paladin, and I as I see this guy being too rigid to be good or to believe himself good.
mm-hmm.
That law is what holds us together and keeps the chaos at bay. And so I believe lawful neutral is probably a good place for him. Now, it would be really nice if here in the faith thing they did have a drop down,
So you could pick
but
something.
it also had an other, because at this point I have no idea what the gods are in Faerun.
Yeah. Um, we're not going to do a long conversation on alignment, but I think that's a fair question in the field. Can lawful evil characters be nice, and can chaotic evil characters be nice?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I think all 9 alignments can be nice. The question is why. A
Exactly.
lawful evil character is nice because they can work it to an angle within all of their rules, and a chaotic evil character can be nice because they can work it to their completely to their own ends later.
Right. They want something.
Yeah, yeah. Lawful evil is a very. I think the evil alignments come to. I tend to think of evil as selfish, and good
Hmm.
as collective.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And like you said, we need a whole show on it.
Oh yeah.
Because we can we can go from first edition to now, and it'll be beautiful. It'll be a
Oh
good time.
God.
So
Yes. Yes. Yes.
um
Yes. Yes. Yes.
did you pick biffs and all that,
I
or
picked a
just
couple.
okay? All right, I am gonna skip it for now.
How are we doing? Okay, we're doing okay on time too. Easier to check their limits. Yeah, lawful evil is I think lawful evil is more likely to work well in a party game. Chaotic evil would make me very nervous in a game because of some potential weirdnesses.
The so uh I've run multiple evil campaigns over the years,
Mm-hmm.
and it's interesting, and every time I've run one. Okay, so af- after high school into college, every evil campaign I've run since then, I've always done the same thing. I've always gone and said, there is a reason you're working together. You have to work together. You can have all the schemes and stuff behind the scenes, and we'll pass notes or whatever you want to do to be evil and have machinations against one another and stuff. But the overall arc, whatever the arc of the story is, you're all searching for that goal. And a lot of times I would set up whatever that is. You want to overthrow the country of Dortmouth, you know, and so hence you're all focused on that. You come up with your reasons why. And so, um, yeah, I guess that's the big thing for evil parties. If you're going to run one, that would be my idea. My suggestion is that they have to be on the same team for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's where things get kind of like wonky if you're not super careful. You can bump into that. And so you've got a name. I should give her a name.
Oh yeah, so I literally sat there with my fingers floating over the keys and went, High Elf Paladin, High Elf Paladin, Avarol, Hinge Malayan, Malay. Okay, there. and how is it'll take me a week to figure out exactly how I'm going to pronounce it, but but the what did I the Ouija board method of name creation.
Yeah. So when you get over to the equipment, you have the option to do standard starting equipment, and then it gives you a list to pick from. And it did happen that in my Wednesday night game, I did not police this really well. I just told everyone, "Here's what you do," and kind of coached everyone through. And I couldn't see anybody's screens, and I did just kind of like coaching the party. And one of the players added a relatively high level magic item as a starting item. There's a couple of things about D&D 5th edition that stick out to talk about that briefly on, because there's a question in the chat on it. It is not common to give a high level item to a first level character. That's unusual. Like I did it a lot with my after school group at the center because it was an easy way to keep everyone on leashes, because I could always threaten to take the magic items away. And so like remember, you like me, I gave your character an artifact. Everyone was like, "Oh yeah, that's right," and then they were like, "Okay, I guess I'll behave now." And and in some ways, it was like what I needed to do to keep them focused was, "Hey, it's your turn. Remember, you got the magic item. What's going on?"
Yeah.
But with more mature games, it tends to be one where you don't do that very often, because it can throw off the game balance. An extra 5 or 10% to hit can make a big deal with low CR creatures, which are designed to be like low HP, but relatively easy to hit. And so there's some negotiation, like in the case with Jansen's character, there was a little bit of like, I think this won't break the game and it'll still keep it interesting. And we all come out ahead on it.
Yeah. And I loved how you did that and what you've done with it. That's really awesome. In the past, I have started campaigns with a stupid powerful magic item, but it was part of the focus of the campaign.
Exactly.
You know, this is the sword that is destined to eventually destroy the demon at the end, once you guys are like 10th level. But you're going to be carrying it around the whole time, and it's going to have its good things and its bad things. Like a total intelligent, it was a two-handed, intelligent, sentient blade that it had a bunch of magic. The big thing was it only spoke giant, and it had a very low intelligence. And so it would sing in giant, it would call out to enemies in giant. So they had this poor first level fighters walking around with this two-handed magic sword, and it would, bellow out in giant, come face me, to other people or whatnot. And so, yeah, it was double-edged.
Yeah. Now the good news for me, yours will be much more interesting. I didn't have a lot of choices for starting equipment as a wizard. So it did not take me a lot of clicks to go down my entire list of possibilities. Yours are going to be a little bit more intense. So like plus the only thing I had to equip when I was done is my quarterstaff.
Right. Okay, so a martial weapon and shield. I definitely am going to be a longsword. Longsword wielding. Javelins? No. I'm afraid that Alvaral will not be throwing javelins. Hence why he has lightning lure to pull them in.
Ooh, that's a good strategy. I can get behind that. Literally.
And so I love this any simple melee weapon list because Great Club is on it. This guy would never wield a Great Club, but every time I have a character like that is small, I love giving them the Great Club if it's a choice because it makes me laugh. Bobby the Barbarian, straight from the TV cartoon when I was, a near teen.
Yeah, the good old days. Fifth edition doesn't have tower shields, no, but there's mechanics. Like, if someone told me I want to carry a tower shield, I could figure out how to make it work within the context of the game. Because I think at that point you're now down to a mobile 3/4 cover, which is in the rule book. It's the thing about a tower shield, you're not really meleeing around with it the way you are a knight's shield.
Right.
It is really a thing that you hold in front of yourself for the most part and fight around.
Yeah.
Selections for some classes are limited, like they run out of imagination, especially for a mage. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's maybe there's a lot of choices. Priest's pack.
Yeah, I don't think he would. I don't think that's him. An alms box and incense and stuff. No, he's more of a get things done kind of paladin.
All right, I can respect that.
Chainmail and
Dual wielding tower shields. Yeah, that you can do that, but again, that's tough. That's tough.
So I'm just gonna say in 3 and 3.5, that was like a thing. And there's even, was it in 3.5 or is it in 5? There's an option for, there's like a dwarf and he's all covered in spikes and he's twin shields and the shields are covered in spikes. It must have been a 3.5 or a Pathfinder option. I can remember the artwork though, but yeah, it's literally they are all spiky goodness with like hockey pads with spikes, and they just run around spiking people and beating them with shields. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be an emblem on my shield.
Nice.
Scroll of pedigree and a purse, and add my starting equipment. And then go to inventory. This is one that always throws people.
You have to go equip everything.
Yep. Otherwise, the stats do not show up. It's so nice to be able to roll right from D&D Beyond too.
Yep.
All right. Are we ready?
Yeah, hit the view character sheet.
Pachow.
And now we've got characters.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now, the last thing I'm going to put out when we're not going to have time to play with it today, so maybe we'll work on it next time because we are coming up on the end of our usual show length.
Oh, my goodness.
The next thing I would do, if we had the time, is hop over to heroforge.com.
Yeah.
And again, I get no money for plugging this stuff, but I feel like I'm doing a disservice to everyone by not bringing it up.
Yeah.
Which is it's a phenomenal tool once it's done loading. My computer is kind of starting to push what it can handle for creating an image, visual of whatever character you want. And one of my go-tos is to, with new players, point them over here and say, have fun. make something that's interesting to you. Play around with. Absolutely. Hashtag please sponsor. Play around for a while with it, see what percolates up, and from that you and I can sit down and we can build a character together based on what you envisioned for your character, because different builds over here imply a different direction you want to go. Okay. So you've got lots of and there's so many tools and options to pick from. It's insane what they've made available.
Yeah, it's the way my oldest house elf makes characters. She
Mm-hmm.
goes over there, she creates it, and then me and her, as a fun thing to do, kind of go walk through, and I ask her questions, and kind
Yep.
of steer her in directions, and then we open D&D Beyond and make the character.
Yep. Absolutely. It's a great resource, and they're pretty good. I had to fill out a form saying that I was going to use their graphics on the stream, and they said, okay, we'll look into it. And that was over a month ago, and they haven't told me to stop yet.
Right.
So I think they're pretty okay with it. I've never claimed ownership, but it's nice for the non-artistically inclined to
Yes.
create a visual of their character in a kind of a fun, easy to get to way. So
Well,
there you go.
and I'm just real quick you can turn it into a token, you can turn it into a character portrait, you can turn, there's so much you can do with it once you've created this individual thing. Literally my little empty portrait spot here will have a picture of Alvaral next time we talk about our monkey with these characters.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can get her to open. Character not saved. Don't save the one I'm working on. Let's open this one up. And this is actually a character that is going to be an NPC in the Curse of Strahd game when she gets all the way up there. There she goes. Oh yeah, and they have lighting effects that they've added. So there's actual lighting in her spell hand.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So you can get that effect going on, which is just a lot of the fun with it. It's a really neat place to use and come back to. It's like the last thing you do if you either you start here or you end here. But I think every journey in character creation should spend a little time here just for that opportunity to get a general look. It's free to use, and they print these if you want to, so it's not super robust. Your sliders are not that many,
right?
But there's still a lot of sliders.
Yeah, and I've had people say, well, this is going to hurt artists, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, it's not going to hurt artists, because I can't tell you how many of these characters, once you've made them there, you then send that to the artist. And they're like, this is how I put them together, go for it. It'd be cool if their hair was like this, or, they were wielding 2 quarterstaves, these things you can't do in Hero Forge, you can have the artist do. So,
Abso-stinkin-lutely. So let's come out of the chat mode, or out of construction mode, and into our talk mode. What's coming up for you this week?
After this, it's Masks on Thursday evening at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, over on Indoor Adventures channel for Masks, where I play Cody Johnson, who his superhero name, we may have found it. We may have found it last time, so he may be announcing a new superhero name. Thunderknot did not go over well. That was poo-pooed, but they were supposed to be poo-pooed. So that's like the 4th name that he's tried that people have been like, no, bad superhero name. So we'll get there. And then Sunday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Come on by, and we will play with some toys and stuff on my channel, Greybeard Tavern, on Twitch. We are still playing Grifflands, but we are on the last character, so very soon we may be switching to a new game. We're waiting, we're holding out for Darkest Dungeon 2, and when Darkest Dungeon 2 comes out, we will be playing that until we finish a campaign of it. So,
That sounds fun.
Wait, and then back here Tuesday.
Back here on Tuesdays. Yep, I've got my Candlekeep Mysteries are starting a new story tomorrow night, which I'm excited about. It's their 3rd chapter in the Candlekeep book. I'm enjoying the framework for adventures they're providing. I remain disappointed at some of the quality of adventures. There's a couple I've read over. I'm like, man, it's a nice framework, but I can't run it out of the book. I need to do something with it.
Yeah.
That said, it's like, for me, perfect.
Right.
Because I don't mind fleshing adventures out, but I think if someone was going to run an adventure straight out of a book, I'm like, have you seen some of the Waterdeep offerings? Like, you can run those straight out of the book. But I'm really excited because it's a great group and we're having a blast. And I have the go ahead for some plot twists. I didn't talk about it one. I think I'm going to throw this romance plot line, and a bunch of people in the Discord went, romance ? And I'm like, don't worry, I think my players are fine with it. Hop over to a different Discord. So are you all fine with this? It's kind of like, yeah, we're good. So there's that. And then Sunday night, we're going to be finishing the Isle of the Abbey from the Ghost of Saltmarsh adventures, which again, I get to run straight out of the book. And that's kind of a fun opportunity for me to do that. And so there's that. And so then we'll back for happy hour again. And I think I still need another game to play while I wait for Mass Effect to come out.
Right.
For the remastered Mass Effect. So I don't know what I'm playing Friday and Saturday nights yet. And I'm kind of all prepped up, so I don't think I'm going to do any D&D prep. So we'll see what happens. If you haven't yet, go ahead before I send everybody out. Let's wrap up the podcast. Where do we find you online if we want to talk to you some more?
Graybeard Tavern, Twitter, Twitch, everywhere. Social media wise, Graybeard Tavern. You'll find me. YouTube. Check out and subscribe to my YouTube so I can eventually get out of the URL silliness and onto being a real boy. I mean, a real channel. That's awesome. It for me.
That's a good goal. I just started my Twitter, Lantern Noir, same as I use on Twitch. You can also email us with suggestions or feedback to oldtimertavern@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please absolutely leave a review on Apple Podcasts so other people can find this content and participate with our ever-growing community of D&D nerds. Till next time, folks, please stay safe. If you're here on Discord or here on Twitch itself, before you leave, go ahead and type an ! crit in the chat if you have not yet done so. We have enough people. I don't feel bad doing a giveaway. And I actually have Lantern Noir stickers to give out now. So I love an opportunity to share those. So go ahead and get it in there. And we'll go ahead and we'll see who gets them.
I crit.
Yep. And then before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and start up the send-off. We're going to actually head over and hang out with Kraken Inferno from here. He is an amazing content creator. You're going to love his energy. He's actually playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. He's decided to go back to it and have a great time with it. He's got me replaying it, at least in the short term. And he's just an amazing streamer and an amazing content creator.
You say Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed. Absolutely. So let's go ahead. We'll hit the giveaway and then we'll send you off on that raid. Please go say hi to him for me. He's an amazing dude. And he's kind of like the Kevin Bacon of streaming. He's where everybody goes to meet somebody. And he's happy to do introductions. It's one of the best things about him. Okay, I'm going to hit the roll it. And Toe. And we're talking on Discord, so you're going to have to send me an address so I can send you a sticker. And you can be part of the Lantern Noir family with your natural LN for critical hit. All right. I think we're good, right?
I think so.
All right. The raid's ready to go in a few seconds. Please, we look forward to seeing you all here next week on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Happy hour. Pour yourself a drink, pull up a stool, and let's talk some dungeons and maybe even some dragons.